Let's go ahead and get started. It's so good to see everybody. We've got folks from Mexico, Wilmington, North Carolina, Missouri, Arizona, British Columbia, Canada. We got folks from all over the globe with us today. If you have questions, go down and put them in the Q&A down at the bottom, and we'll rock and roll on the Q&A. I got the chat opened up for everybody now. Okay, so listen, here's what we're going to do tonight. It's so great to see everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some information for about 30 minutes or so. And then if you have questions down at the bottom, you can go in the Q&A and you can type in your questions. Okay. So first of all, I'm super excited to be here with you guys. Like I said before, this is one of my favorite nights of the week. I love educating people. I love motivating them. And I promise you, you're going to have a few aha moments tonight. Those of you that get those aha moments tonight, I want you to put that in the chat. I want you to put in there what it is that you've learned tonight. And I want you to be thinking about people in your life that should be here, because let me just tell you something. Knowledge is powerful, but it's the wisdom to take that knowledge and apply it to your life that's the most important thing. So we're going to get rocking and rolling tonight. I'm going to talk a lot about the pillars of health. I want to talk about the path to true health and to true wellness. We got this whole protocol that we're going to be discussing over the next few weeks together. And the reality of it is that we've got to have the foundation right. And the foundation is what health really is. Most people think that health is all about looking good and feeling good. It's not. It's about functionality. And I promise you, if you understand what health really is and how to function and how to improve some of your health functionality, your symptoms and diseases and everything will mitigate and minimize, and you'll feel and you'll function better. So what I want to talk about tonight is real simple. We're going to talk about what true health and wellness is. We're going to discuss a little bit of action steps that you can take, and then I'm going to answer your questions. So let's talk about health. And I want you to understand what health is not. Health is not just looking good and feeling good. Health is all about functioning well. Health is all about a balance in your physical, chemical, and neurological well-being. It's not just the absence of symptoms. In fact, I wrote this down. I wanted you to hear this directly from me. This is out of Dorland's Medical Dictionary. Dorland's Medical Dictionary is the dictionary where medical definitions come out of. And the definition of health is a state of optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of diseases or infirmities. What does that mean? That means just because you look good and feel good doesn't mean that you're well. And that also means if you feel bad, that doesn't mean that you're sick either. How many of you have ever had, I don't know, like night sweats because of a flu or a cold? How many of you ever had diarrhea because you ate something that was not good for you, or you threw up after you ate something that was like a food poisoning? That's your body doing what it's supposed to do. You know, having sore, stiff joints a lot of times is a symptom that your body's trying to heal itself. Having a fever's not a bad thing. A fever is massively not a bad thing. We're going to get into that. There's so many things I cannot wait to teach you, but you have to understand that health is not just looking good and feeling good. It's a balance. And it's really a balance in three things. It's a balance in your physical well-being, your chemical well-being, and your emotional well-being. Now, I want you guys to do me a favor, write this down. The number one cause of all symptoms and disease on the planet is really stress. But ladies, this is going to be kind of, you're going to love to hear this. Guys, this may offend you, so I apologize. But you know what kind of stress it is? It's stress from men. MEN, mechanical, emotional, and neurological. Those are the three stresses. Mechanical stresses are like sitting too long. Having an accident or an injury is a mechanical stress. Getting into a car accident. I don't know if you know this. I do a lot of work, brain work on adults and children. And did you know that concussions and head injuries are a massive problem? But people assume that these concussions are from these massive head injuries or playing football or some type of a collision sport. Did you know that the average 9-year-old has had dozens of head injuries that have built them up to having what we call traumatic brain injuries or concussions? We find those on people all the time. But see, because of our lack of knowledge is the reason why we have the problems we have. So we've got the mechanical stress, which is also known as physical stress. We've got the emotional stress, which so many of you, I know how many of you watching and listening right now have ever had emotional stress in your life. Emotional stresses can manifest into physical pain. Emotional stresses can cause chemical imbalances in the body. I just need you to understand that when we have imbalances in our system, that's what's leading to our issues. And then the final component we call neuro-emotional. You know, you can have a physical imbalance, a chemical imbalance, or a neuro-emotional imbalance, and one of those imbalances can cause the other two to be out of whack. Many times you have experienced these things and probably haven't paid attention to it. For example, how many of you have ever, let's say, went out on the weekend or in the evening time and maybe have eaten the wrong foods and maybe overserved yourself and had a little bit too many cocktails to drink? How many have ever, unfortunately, that's happened to you? Well, what happens the next day? The next day you wake up and you feel sick. You have physical pain in your body. Your emotions are down. Why? Because you're chemically out of whack. Once you're out of balance enough chemically, now it's going to cause emotional stresses and it's going to cause physical pain. I can't tell you in my 20 plus years of practice how many times I've seen things like, you know, anxiety, depression, insomnia, things like, you know, they would consider people to have manic or depressive type moments. And it's not necessarily an emotional trigger that caused it. It could be a physical problem or a chemical problem that really is the root cause of it. And I promise if you'll engage us over the next few weeks, I promise by the time we're done, you'll have a better understanding of this than anyone else in your community. But you have to understand that health is not just, it's not just the amount of stress that we're under, it's how our body accommodates to it. So understand that stress is all about adapting to that stress. Many of you have experienced before the some of you have experienced in my own offices, some of the brain testing that we do. We're able to measure the actual brain function and how your body accommodates to stress. You see, your nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord are what controls everything in your body. And when you're under stress, physically, chemically, or emotionally, the first thing that gets out of balance is your nervous system. Well, how many of you ever heard that phrase, I'm so stressed out, my nerves are shot? Well, that goes back to that brain and spinal cord not working. Well, think about this. If your brain and your spinal cord are like a giant fuse box, I don't know if you know this, but your spine has vertebra, right? And out of the vertebra come nerves. Well, all those nerves go to different areas of the body and different organs. It's very much like a fuse box. If the fuse box is blown, if the fuse is blown that controls the lights in this room, my lights won't turn on. Well, if the fuse is blown inside of your body in the nervous system that controls your heart, you're going to have a higher risk for heart issues and heart attack. If the fuse is blown that controls your digestive system, you're going to have things like irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease, bloatiness, gas, distension, heartburn, all those things. And if the fuse is blown in the cervical spine that controls the thyroid, you'll have thyroid issues. So you need to understand that health is a balance of physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. And just like a lot of you are putting in the chat right now, it's all about the men, right? The mechanical, emotional, and neurological stresses. Well, let me just tell you something. There's a philosophy and an understanding of a principle that says what gets measured gets managed. Well, you can manage your stress. You can manage your body's ability to adapt to that stress physically, chemically, and emotionally if you run the right type of testing. But let me give you an example. This is a real life example that I see all the time. How many of you have ever heard of a condition, let's just say like blood pressure? Who's heard of hypertension before? Who's heard of high blood pressure? What I want you to understand, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is completely true, and you can look this up right now. You could probably even Google it. Nobody dies from high blood pressure. They die from the cause of high blood pressure, and they die from the side effects of high blood pressure. But did you know that you could have high blood pressure because of not just chemical stresses? We know that if you eat too much, you have, you know, too much sodium in your diet, you don't have enough minerals in your diet. If you, you know, eat too much processed foods, too much sugar, we know that that's going to increase the pressure in your body. Well, did you also know that you could have high blood pressure because of an emotional stressor. How many of you have ever been emotionally stressed out and your heart starts racing? How many of you have ever been emotionally stressed out and you can feel like you can literally feel like the veins bulging out in your neck? You're so stressed out. That's because your body goes into a what's called a fight or flight response. That is a normal adaptive response to stress. You see, the human body doesn't can't discriminate between what kind of stress it's under. It can't discriminate whether it's under physical stress, chemical stress, emotional stress. The response is the same. Whether you're running in the forest away from a bear because you're running for your life, or you got to get up because your alarm was going off and you're late for work. I mean, all these stressors build up and the body has the same response to it. And so what I want you to understand is we have made a massive mistake as a human civilization of trying to treat symptoms. And the more we try to treat symptoms, the worse off we get. We have to understand that our symptoms are nothing more than adaptive stresses in our body. What does that mean? If you have a physical imbalance in your body, like if you have a misalignment of the vertebrae in your neck, or if you break a bone, or if you have pain in your body, that too will increase the blood pressure. So if you take a blood pressure pill to lower your blood pressure, but your blood pressure is high because of chemical imbalances, does that really fix the problem? And the answer is no. If you take a blood pressure pill to lower your blood pressure because you have physical problems in your body, does that fix the root cause? The answer is no. And if you have emotional stresses because you have stress at home, stress at work, whatever it may be, and you take a blood pressure pill to lower the blood pressure, does that fix the cause of the problem? And the answer is no. What I need you to understand is that symptoms, I want you to remember this or write this down. Symptoms are nothing more than your body telling you there's a problem. How many of you have ever been driving in your car and all of a sudden, ding, your check engine light goes off in your car? I mean, how many people have ever been driving around and the check engine light goes off? It happens all the time. Well, what we have to understand is that the check engine light is not the problem. That's telling us there's a problem. And when your check engine light goes off in your car, you have lots of options, right? You can put a piece of tape over it, a picture of your kids, your grandkids, your cat, your dog. You can take the little light bulb out and not pay attention to the check engine light that's going off. I mean, you could do all these things, or you can go to the mechanic and find out after they hook up your machine to the machine to diagnose you of what's wrong. Well, that's the same thing that the human body is trying to tell you. The high blood pressure, the chronic pain, the inflammation, the high cholesterol, the shortness of breath, the fatigue, the bloatiness, the gas, the distension, all those things are symptoms. And most symptoms are caused by adaptive physiology. I want you to remember this. It's adaptive physiology. High blood pressure is adaptive physiology. Your body is trying to adapt with the fight or flight response because of some type of stress. And I'm going to tell you that the vast majority of the symptoms that you have and that your loved ones have are nothing more than adaptations to stress. The problem is, as we get older and the more stress we're under, our body loses its ability to adapt to that stress. And now we start to get something called dis-ease, right? And if you have dis-ease long enough, you get disease. So check this out. When your body is at balance, you have something called ease, E-A-S-E. Somebody write down in the chat, E-A-S-E. Ease means balance. It's the Greek origin word for balance, homeostasis. Well, when we get out of balance in physical, chemical, or emotional health, we now have dis-ease. We're in dis-ease. When you're in a state of dis-ease, you might have occasional symptoms. You might have occasional fatigue. You might have some occasional problems going on. But what you will really have is if you leave that problem uncorrected long enough, you will develop disease. For example, let's say that your body is deficient in certain minerals like chromium, zinc, other minerals. Let's say that you're low in fiber. Let's say that you are deficient in movement in your body. And let's say that your body, your diet is consuming too many carbohydrates. Well, what happens is at first our sugar levels go up. And because we don't have the right vitamins, minerals, and nutrients in our body, we can't grab enough of those sugars and pull them into the cells and use them like we're supposed to. Well, our insulin, which is a hormone, that insulin goes up. Well, if that insulin goes up enough, what happens is over time, we start to get insulin resistance. How many of you all know that if you do the same exercise or the same food plan, your body eventually becomes resistant to that and it just doesn't get any healthier? You have to tweak and change things up. Well, when you get an increase in insulin over a long period of time, your cells now become insulin resistant and your cells literally develop a protective coating around the outside layer of those cells. And what happens is now we can't absorb the nutrients, the sugars can't come down. And now, because our cells don't get the nutrients it needs, our circulation goes down. Now we get numbness and tingling in the feet. Now we get poor circulation in the toes, the hands and fingers. Men get poor circulation to the penis and to the sexual organs. And now we can get things like infections in the legs and feet. We get neuropathy in our hands and toes. We get erectile dysfunction and all those. That's a state of dis-ease that ultimately leads to disease known as diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is completely reversible, but you have to change the lifestyle that got you there. And so what you need to understand is that the majority of the disease that people have is because they've had dis-ease for so long, and that's because their body's out of balance physically, chemically, and emotionally. And so that's why you're going to hear from me all the time say that self-care is the real healthcare. Because our healthcare system that we have today is all about your doctor or, influencers on social media telling you what you should do to manage your symptoms, not get to the root cause of your problem. How many of you have gone to the doctor with a group of symptoms and you went to the doctor and you left with a pill? If you go to a doctor or any healthcare practitioner and they give you a drug or even a supplement without telling you what your lifestyle changes should be, and what things you can do to improve your health physically, chemically, and emotionally, then you need to find a new healthcare practitioner. And you need to become your own physician. I believe it was Hippocrates that said, "Physician, heal thyself." Well, what does that mean? You need to be your own doctor. You need to be your own understander of how your body works. So self-care, what I teach all my patients is to go down the self-care exploratory examination, where you can start learning how to ask yourself quality questions. Like, what is this symptom really coming from? When does this symptom show up? What do I do to help get that thing to improve? There's little questions you can ask yourself that'll help narrow down the root cause of the problem. Or going down an even deeper path of self-exploratory of doing things like our biolimitless DNA discovery test. Why was that be important? Well, if you can run a simple genetic profile that measures over 800,000 genetic components of your body that can tell you how you should sleep, how you should eat, how you should exercise, how you should recover, how you should supplement, that helps give you a guideline of your own individual personal needs. There could be no greater self-care than you understanding how your genetics work. And then you understand that your genetics, what we tell people from a genetic standpoint is your genes load the gun, the lifestyle pulls the trigger. So now you know your genetics from the profile that we can do together. Now we can go down another road of self-exploratory. Now we know what foods we should eat, how much we should sleep. Once you do that for a long enough period of time, now your body can go from this disease state back closer to a balanced state. But here's one thing you need to remember, and everybody needs to remember this, is that healing takes time. Remember, health is not an event, it's a journey. Somebody write that down. Health is not an event, it's a journey. But the only way that you can properly go down that journey is to have that self-discovery of what's really going on with yourself. And so once you do that, then we can start waking up the body. And the first thing that we need to do whenever I see my patients, first thing I do with people is get their DNA, get their body living for their DNA lifestyle. If you can live your lifestyle based off of your genetic code, I'm telling you, that's going to get you about 75% of where you need to go. You just have to do it consistently. And let me tell you how long consistently is. Let me give you a couple analogies and things that we do know about healing. Number one, we know that it takes on average, about 90 days to make a change in cellular function. About 90 days. Every 90 days, your red blood cells and white blood cells turn over. Your body is now renewing and regenerating itself from the inside out. So once you start doing something, it's going to take you a minimum of 90 days of time to get your cells to turn over so they can start functioning and building new healthy organs. That's really important you understand that. So when I take patients on, I tell them we're going to work in 90-day cycles. We're going to measure your body, and then in 90 days, we're going to remeasure. And then every 90 days, we're going to recheck how your body's doing because we can tweak along the way. The second thing that I want you to understand is this, and remember this and write this down. However long you've had a problem in years, it's typically going to take your body that many months to repair. For example, if you've had a problem for 30 years, it might take up to 30 months for your body to really repair that problem. But you have to consistently do the right thing. Like literally, math is such an important thing. And I remember telling my teachers in school, I'll never use math. I'll never need the math. It never, ever need it. Well, math is in everything. And here's the math equation for health. Consistency over time equals a result. What you consistently do for the proper period of time will give you the proper result. And I'm telling you, the first thing you need to do is live that genetic lifestyle. The second thing that you need to do is you've got to get your gut microbiome under control. This is so important. I cannot impress upon you the importance of this. By the way, research on the health of a healthy microbiome has been over 100 years in the medical research. We know that if you have a bad GI system, you have a higher risk of anxiety, depression, insomnia. We know that you have a higher risk of chronic fatigue syndrome. We know that you have a higher risk of inflammatory conditions. And by the way, inflammatory conditions cause inflammatory cells, which cause inflammatory organs, which most doctors will tell you is the root cause of all disease. It's not. It's the cause of the inflammation that's the real cause of the problem. But you need to understand that. And then what you got to understand is that autoimmune issues, the vast majority of autoimmune, and I mean all autoimmune issues, comes from the gut not working like it's supposed to. And I will tell you the body of research that has come out over the last decade that shows that when the gut's bad, the brain is bad. And that leads to things like neurodegenerative issues like Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, all these things can start with the gut. That's why even Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, first fix the gut and all things will fall into place. So you live your DNA lifestyle. You get your gut bacteria proper. And don't worry, I'm going to do lots of conversations and Wednesday night dives on how to get the gut microbiome open, what you can do in your life during the day. And I'm not talking about just taking more supplements. I'm talking about what you should do and what you shouldn't do to get your microbiome to function the way that it's supposed to. And if you'll do those things, boy, will it change your life. And then the third thing that I tell everybody to do is we've got to get your cells functioning again. We got to get them to turn back on. And there are a lot of things that you can do physically, chemically, and emotionally to turn your cells back on. Folks, you have to understand, once we get over the age of 30, our cellular function starts to turn down and slow down. How many of y'all know that whenever you were in your 20s, when you were a teeny bopper, you could eat what you want, you could do what you want, you could exercise, you could get in all kinds of accidents, you'd be fine, no problem. You flip your BMX bike upside down, next day you're completely fine. And now when you're over the age of 40, you wake up and your back's out of alignment, or you threw your shoulder out by sleeping funny. Like, think about that for a minute. That's because your cells have slowed down. And so we need to do something to signal the cells to turn on, because once we get over the age of 30, we lose 90% of the chemical production of cell signaling technologies. Our hormone function goes down. our peptide production goes down, our exosome and stem cell function goes down, our bioregulator function goes down, our enzyme function goes down, and our microbiome function goes down. Those are all things that signal the cells to move. Folks, quantum physics has told us that everything is about energy and vibration, and it's about frequency. And we measure the frequency on all of our patients. You can do a frequency measurement. Here's a real simple way that you can measure your frequency at home. This will blow your mind because most people don't know this is a measurement of frequency. Do you guys know what pH paper is? Litmus strips. You see people test the pool water, and if the pool is too acidic, then you shouldn't get in it because why? An acidic pool can destroy the body. Well, an acidic body will kill your cells, and the quality of your health is in direct proportion to the health of the cells of your body. So if your body's acidic, you're going to be sick. A gentleman by the way, name of Dr. Otto Weinberg won a Nobel Prize on the work he did by discovering that having an alkaline pH, a pH above a 7.5, creates an environment within the system that allows for the body to be at optimal function chemically. And when you're below that 7.0, you now are in a state of acidity. When you're acidic, to me, acidic sounds like you're sick. Acidic, to me, it's the same. And did you know that if you take a litmus strip, which you can go buy this at, any store, you can buy it on Amazon right now, get some litmus strips and take the pH of your saliva and measure the pH also of your urine. Do two different strips. Don't mix those up. One for your mouth, one for your urine. And if your pH is acidic, your body's out of balance. And did you know that pH is actually a chemical measurement of the frequency of your body? If your pH is above a 7, you have a healthier, more vibrant frequency. Your cells are vibrating and moving at a quick oscillating pace. If your pH level goes down and you become acidic, everything slows down. If our cell function slows down, then our body's health slows down. You guys, every year we essentially get a new body. Your body, your skin regenerates itself. Every couple of weeks we get new skin. Every couple of weeks we get new hair. Every couple months our organs regenerate. The liver regenerates itself every 8 to 12 months. The lungs regenerate, the heart, all these organs regenerate, your muscles regenerate, but you have to have the right signals to the cells. You have to be living the right lifestyle for your genes to express like they're supposed to, and you have to have your gut bacteria proper. There are certain breathing exercises. You can do diaphragmatic breathing exercises to get your cells to stimulate. You can do lymphatic exercises like jumping jacks or jumping on a trampoline or a rebounder to get your cells to improve. You can literally go for a walk. You can literally you can go outside barefooted. Research has shown if you go outside barefooted, you get connected with the gravitational pull of the earth. This is not some crunchy, crazy thing. This is real deal science. And that energy gets your cells to vibrate. There's a reason why you feel good when you go next to the ocean. There's a reason why you feel good when you're out at nature, because those positive ions start to signal those cells to wake up. Yes, there are chemical nutrients that we have, and you can get some of those products from us and use those that'll signal your cells to get better. Gut bacteria, our master microbiotic formula, our cell signaling technology with peptides, any type of methylated B vitamins like B12 and L-methylfolate. Those are good things to signal your cells. Minerals, getting minerals in your system. The average person should be getting between 5 to 8 grams a day in their diet of organic sea salt. Good organic clean sea salt has over 80 different minerals in it. Minerals help the cells move. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the questions you guys have. Make sure you go in the Q&A and type them in there, and we're golden. So somebody had a question about sea salt. All right, let's talk about sea salt. I'm a huge fan of salt. In fact, a really good friend of mine wrote a book called Salt Your Way to Health, Dr. David Brownstein. We use salt in our practices all the time to help get minerals into people's bodies. Salt is really good, but you have to understand that it's got to be a specific type of salt. Okay. It cannot be It can't be table salt. Anybody who has table salt, get rid of that stuff. You don't need it. It is not good for you at all. So you need to have organic sea salt, all right? But it needs to be either I like Baja Gold salt, and we also use a lot of organic Celtic sea salt. There are a lot of Himalayan salts out there that are okay as well, but I like sea salt. Most sea salts have about 70 to 80 different minerals in it. And I don't know if you know this, but your body needs 90 essential nutrients every day, and we're supposed to eat those nutrients every day. So when we eat those nutrients, our body then uses those things. All right. So I'm a huge fan. So don't cut out sea salt, but cut out sodium. You don't need to have a low salt diet. You need to have a lower sodium diet. And by the way, if you take salt, if you're intaking any type of salt and your blood pressure goes up, you swell, you have inflammation, any of that kind of stuff, that's usually a sign that you're either low in magnesium or you're low in potassium. So let's talk about magnesium first. And I'm going to tell you, magnesium is one of the biggest deficiencies that most people have on the planet. So how do you know how much magnesium you should be taking? I'm going to tell you that every man, woman, and child, in my opinion, should be supplementing with magnesium. So what you do is you take your body weight and you take that number times 10.6 and you divide it by 2.5. That's how many milligrams per day of magnesium that you need to be getting in your system. If we can get that magnesium up in our system, it's going to reduce inflammation, reduce pain. It's going to help you a lot balance out the sodium levels in your diet. And I'm telling you, if you're eating fast food, processed food, you're drinking a lot of sodas, a lot of energy drinks, they're loaded with sodium. And that sodium is a big problem. So it's not the salt that's a problem, it's the sodium. The second thing is potassium. I don't know if you know this, but we need 4,700 milligrams a day of potassium as adults. 4,700 milligrams. And you should get that in your diet. But the only way to really get that is if you're eating like, 5 or 6 ginormous leafy green salads. And most people can't consume that many calories or that much food in a day. So what do we do? So what you do is you start supplementing with a little organic potassium. Most people, 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams a day of potassium is a really good place to be. You do that plus the sea salt, and that'll help a lot. But don't cut that sea salt out of your system. Somebody asked me a question: how do I feel about cannabis? Well, I promise we will do a talk on the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system is the system in the body where cannabis receptors actually attach. And I got to tell you, if you know anything about health or about healthcare or about how our body works, if you have a receptor site for something, your body's supposed to have it. Like we have vitamin D receptors, we have nicotinamide receptors, we have endocannabinoid receptors. The endocannabinoid system stimulates something called the parasympathetic. That's the part of the brain that allows you to rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. Now, I'm not about people overdoing THC. Cannabis and THC are completely different things. So I will tell you that we will speak about this at length in the future. But all things in moderation, seriously, even moderation, you guys. So that's a big one. Let's see. Can somebody email me yeah, we're recording all of this so you guys can have access to the the webinar. Another question that just came up, it says, can you explain the difference between methylated and regular vitamins? Yes. Okay, think about it like this. And when we're talking about methylated vitamins, you're going to hear me a lot of time talk about methylated B vitamins. So that's vitamin B12, and that's vitamin B9. So B12 is normally called cyanocobalamin. We want to have methylcobalamin. A methyl is basically there's a methyl group on this, which allows it to be broken down. So methylcobalamin is easier to digest. It's easier to break down. It's easier to absorb. It has a methyl group on it that allows to attach to your cells where there's not going to be a lot of processing like detox and toxification issues to it. So L-methylfolate, like folic acid by itself, is not good for probably 75% of the population. But methylated folic acid or methylfolate is what people should have. So it's a supplement form that's easier to digest. By the way, chelation is the same thing. If you get chelated vitamins or chelated minerals, that's a lot easier for your body to digest and absorb as well. So great question. Yeah. So also the podcast, we have a podcast that you guys can see. There was a question about where can we watch your podcast, Dr. Eric? Well, if you go to uh peptalk.world, somebody can type that in at the bottom. It's peptalk.world. All of our podcasts and everything are on there as well. Yeah, very good. Very good question. Very good. The question is about Melissa. Oh yeah. Uh, when will Melissa be ready? We're gonna have Melissa within the next couple weeks. You're gonna start seeing Melissa being implemented into our customer service technology as well as into our website integration. Really excited about what we're doing with the technology with Melissa. You guys have questions? Type them in at the bottom, and I'll do my best to get to them. So somebody had a question, it's kind of a general question. It says, will this help with ED even after you've had prostate surgery? Well, okay, so I don't know what this means, but the answer is, in order to get somebody healthy, we have to get them out of a state of disease back into ease and back into balance, right? Well, the reality of it is that all symptoms that you have are caused by an imbalance physically, chemically, or emotionally. So there's no one pill, one potion, one shot. You're going to hear me say this a ton. First of all, I'm a big fan of supplements and having the right nutraceuticals and et cetera in your system, but you need to understand that you're not going to out supplement a poor diet. Now, by the way, those of you that are asking questions about prostate issues, I will tell you 20 plus years of being a physician, I've never ever seen somebody that has a prostate issue that doesn't have a problem with their L5 lumbar vertebra. So the L5 lumbar vertebra is the vertebra in the low part of the spine, and that L5 controls the prostate. So anyone who's ever had prostate issues probably has a history of low back pain as well. So there's a physical component that's affecting the prostate. So that physical component has to be dealt with as well. Okay, let me answer a couple more questions. There's one about fungus. Okay, so okay, so how many of you are like this person that you get toe fungus a lot? So if your toe is, cracky, flaky, it's discolored, there's fungus there. That's you have to understand, if it's in your toenails, it's systemically throughout your body. And you're not just going to kill the fungus. You have to understand the reason why that fungus is causing that problem with the toe is because, real simply, what's happening is you're having circulatory issues to the feet. And if you're having circulatory issues to the feet, you're probably having blood sugar issues. So I'm just telling you right now, if you're getting symptoms of regular recurrent toe fungus, or if you're starting to lose the ability to grow hair on the lower part of your leg, that's a sign of insulin resistance, prediabetes, or even that you're a diabetic. So if you will get your blood sugars under control, and we have, by the way, there's a whole program that we have that you're going to be learning about real soon. You guys can go to the website. Somebody type this website in at the bottom, 45easy.com. That's 45easy.com. There's a 45-day reset challenge on there. We're going to be doing that as a group together. But you guys can all go on there and check that out. It's a protocol that can help you reduce inflammation, reduce your weight, reduce your insulin resistance, reduce your blood sugars. Now, if you want to knock out that toe fungus, we've got to start getting your body more alkaline. Number two, what's one way you can get your body alkaline? Here's kind of a cool little trick. Go get some organic baking soda, that literally organic baking soda, and go and take a teaspoon of that. Okay. A teaspoon of that at nighttime, put it in water and drink it down. Over time, that'll help your body become more alkaline. In the morning, when you wake up, take a teaspoon of that good organic sea salt, either a half to a full teaspoon. Okay. Not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. Put that in your water, put a little squeeze of lemon in there, stir it up and drink it down. Not only will that keep your bowels regular, But what else it will do is it will help your body keep the pH right. The pH is the key. If you get the pH levels up, your fungus, bacteria, parasites can't live in an alkaline environment. They love acidity. The more acidic you are, the more sick you're going to be. So we talk about in the 45 Easy Reset Manual, we talk about eating foods that are more alkaline, things you can start doing, action steps. We literally have 7 steps that you can do over 45 days to really restart your whole metabolism, detox your body, and clean stuff out. That's a real big one. So hopefully that should help you a ton right there. Now, there are protocols that I can give and talk about later specifically for toe fungus. But if you'll do those 2 things first, a lot of times that's the root cause of it. You got to get the insulin and sugar levels down, and we got to get the alkalinity levels and pH levels to go up. Another question somebody said about Lyme disease. Okay. So Lyme's disease, man, first of all, Lyme's disease is super common. It's a lot more popular than you can even imagine. Like, we find it in so many folks. And I will tell you, to this day, I still have doctors come to me and say Lyme's disease doesn't exist. You have to understand that Lyme's disease does exist. It is very real. The Bordella and spirochetes and all the co-infections that go with it are real. I'm going to do a whole a workshop for you on Lyme's of things you can do. But the number one thing you have to understand is, with Lyme, we've got to get the immune system to improve. So what's the number one way to get the immune system to improve is to get the gut bacteria to get better. Because again, 90% of your immune system starts in your gut. If the gut's out of whack, the whole immune system's out of whack. And so what I would encourage you to do is, whether you've got Lyme disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, whether you're already healthy and you want to stay healthy, follow the simple pillars of health, right? Understand your genetic profile. Eat, live, sleep, breathe, do the lifestyle based off of your genetic expression. Get your gut bacteria balanced out and get your cells to signal, and then get your body moving. Folks, I want you to understand that phrase, if you don't move it, you lose it, is totally real. And I don't know if you know this, but the longevity studies, which are studies that have been going on for decades, they look at people from all around the world and what they're doing, and they're looking at folks that don't live very long, and they look at folks that live to be in their 80s, 90s, 100 plus. And what we're finding is that people who live a happier, healthier, more productive life move their body. Your body, your muscles are like the Tesla charging station for your body. And when you move them is when you recharge your body. When you move them, it pulls sugars out of the blood and gets it out of the system. When you move your body, it stimulates your cells, it stimulates your gut, it stimulates your brain. We really have a movement deficiency on this planet. And if you'll start moving, here's a secret that you can start doing. If you'll go for a walk, research has shown that a 10 to 15-minute walk after a meal can lower your blood sugar level by 20 to 30 points, depending upon the person. That's huge, just by moving your body. And you have to understand that most diseases and most diseases happen because of chronic increase in blood sugars and chronic increase in insulin levels in the body. So whether you've got Hashimoto's, whether you've got Lyme's disease, or any of these other, debilitating problems or chronic inflammation or chronic pain, the first thing you've got to do is we've got to get the blood sugars under control. That really is the pandemic that's affecting people. By the way, if you go back and you look at individuals from 2020 until 2023, during the time of the pandemic that we had globally, who were the people that were most at risk for getting infections and unfortunately succumbing to these infections? People that had pre-existing conditions. Well, 60% of the United States population has at least one chronic illness. 40% of the United States and global population has 2 chronic illnesses. Now 1 in 10 children has some type of chronic disease. That's a serious problem. So I just need you to understand that getting the sugars under control are going to be huge. Okay. Going to be huge. And by the way, the 45easy.com is a really easy reset for you to do this with. Okay. Barb says, perfect. Oh, that's really nice. Barb says, thank you for your help. You're amazing. I don't want anybody to doubt your credibility because of misstatements. It's Dr. Otto Weinberg. I said Weinberg, not Weinstein, hopefully. But thanks, Barbara, for that correction. Um, Someone said a question about ringing in the ears, tinnitus. Okay, so tinnitus, you need to understand that that ringing in the ear can be caused by the vagus nerve not working like it's supposed to. And that vagus nerve not working like it's supposed to, remember, 90% of the vagus nerve lives right up here. So when you get ringing in the ears, dizziness, vertigo, sitting to standing dizziness, a lot of times that's a problem with the vagus nerve. 10% of that nerve lives up in the neck. So you can go online and look on YouTube and look up vagus nerve exercises to get that to stimulate. There are lots of things you can do to stimulate that vagus. But 90% of the vagus nerve lives in the GI tract. It's in the enteropathic nervous system. So literally the gut being out of balance can be a massive contributing factor to ringing in the ears. And once you get that gut bacteria under control and you get the alignment and movement proper in the upper part of the neck, that could absolutely be a saving grace for people. I'm going to tell you, I start with those two things with most of my folks. Now, sometimes that ringing in the ears is caused by damage to the nerves or damage to the muscles in the ear or damage to the eardrum because of, being around high industrial noises, being a heavy metal rock and roller, you're turning your radio up too high, or injuries can cause that. And we know that recurrent head injuries, concussions, traumatic brain injuries, and etc. can lead to things like tinnitus as well. Okay. Let me do two more questions because I know we're getting to the top of the hour. But give me a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying this. Is this helpful? Is this beneficial? Do you think this is something that's powerful? And how many of you know people who probably should be here right now, who should be listening to this, right? So two more. Number one, what can you do about neuropathy symptoms? Well, just like I said before, most neuropathy is caused by increased in blood sugars. And I'm going to tell you right now, if your A1C, which is your blood sugar level on a blood test, if your A1C is above a 6.4, your body is pre-diabetic and heading towards and into diabetes. It needs to be a 6.4 or below on your blood test. If it's not, that very well could be the leading cause of your problem. And you can do all the gadgets and all the gizmos. I do neuropathy correction work in my practices and have done it for almost 20 years. And the number one thing that I measure first is what's the blood sugar? Because if the blood sugar levels are high, there's no way we can repair that nerve. That's number one. Number two, there's probably impingement in that nerve somewhere. If you get neuropathy in the hands and fingers, the nerves that control the hands and fingers go through the wrist, go through the elbow, go through the shoulder, and go through the neck. So you need to have an assessment to find out, are the nerves compressed anywhere in those joints? There are simple tests that can be done to do that. Simple x-rays, sometimes palpation can be done. There are a lot of things that can be done to help with that. Same thing in the feet. If you're getting neuropathy in the feet and toes, there could be compression in the nerves of the lumbar spine, in the hip, in the knee, and in the ankle. I mean, we have a massively high success rate in reversing neuropathy with people by getting the sugars under control, by getting the nerves to get impinged. That's a really, really, really powerful one. All right, I'm going to answer one more question, then I'm going to be quiet for the night, and then we're going to do this again next week. So last question I've got, what is my opinion on frequency healing and devices available today? Great question. Let me just tell you that everything in life is frequency. Everything in life is energy. The supplements you take, the foods that you eat, it's all about frequency, energy, and vibration. And so we now know that we can measure the frequency of the organs in the body and the frequency of the organism. We have ways to do that. And we know that certain frequencies are the normal frequencies of the heart, of the lungs, of the liver, of the stomach. And if the frequency's low, we now have devices and technologies that I use in my practices that we'll be using together that you literally can tune up and tune in how those cells vibrate. And vibration is cellular signaling. So there are lots of ways to get your cells to signal and frequency healing and frequency devices can do that. Look, we know, you go back in history, there's a reason why the ancient healers would play music for people to be relaxed and to heal. They would use certain sounds and chimes to heal people. Why? Because it was the vibration. When that vibration outside met with the vibration inside, that internal vibration started to vibrate and it started waking up the cells again. So there, first of all, great questions, you guys. This has been so much fun. I really do love these opportunities to be with you guys. So again, give me a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed tonight. I see a lot of thumbs up out there. It's so great to see you. I've seen so many of you from all over the world. We have Tokyo that's here. We've got Missouri. We've got all over the US. We've got Canada. We've got Europe. We've got all kinds of people all over the globe that are tuning in with us. Make sure that you guys go to our Wednesday night workshops. You guys, you can go to our website, biolimitless.com. You can see the events that are there. We're going to be here. You see the whole protocol that we've got of the next couple weeks to come. Make sure that you're tuning in. If you have questions, you can go to our website. You can ask those questions there. And then come to our Wednesday night workshops, and I'll do everything I can to engage every one of you. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be with you. I love and appreciate the chances that we get to spend in person and sometimes virtually like this. I know that together we're going to make a huge impact in the world, and knowledge is powerful, right? And that's what we're getting on nights like tonight. But wisdom is taking that knowledge and applying it to your life. So all I want to say is how much I appreciate you for giving up some of your day to spend with me. I look forward to doing it again. Till we meet again, everybody, I'm Dr. Eric Nepute. God bless you. God bless America. God bless the world. Stay smart out there, folks. Have an amazing, amazing day, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Be well. Thank you.